All right. Good morning, Doug. One major news item, definitely worth commenting on. Your thoughts on the Venezuela fast boat that they blew up the other day, the U.S. Navy, I guess it was.
Yeah, I was actually rather shocked to hear about that, that they didn't try to pull it over to see what was on it or where they were going or who they were and get some information. They just assumed that since it had three outboard motors and it was heading north from Venezuela, that they must be up to bad intentions, and they sent a Hellfire missile to it and just blew the whole thing out of the water. So this is, to me, this is criminal. I mean, if the U.S. government does it, oh, okay, it's fine. But if anybody else had done it, just they didn't know who these people. They said they did, but how could they know? This
Well, and
is
what
crazy.
U.S. law were they breaking?
Exactly. It was in international waters. Does that mean that anybody that has a fast boat in the Caribbean is likely to get blown up on suspicion?
I mean, it seemed, let's assume they had great intelligence and they knew for sure they were 100% certain that these guys were part of Tren de Agua, as they say, and that they were running drugs. Even if that's for sure true, what was the immediate like threat of that to the U.S. even that they were? I mean, they weren't. That boat couldn't get to the U.S. from there, could it?
Well, it's quite a way. I mean, it would have to refuel along the way
Hmm.
and it had 11 people on it, it says. And normally, when you're just running drugs, you have a minimum crew. So you know, what do you need all that spare baggage for? So there's something going on here. So it impresses me as stupid because assuming they were up to no good, there might have been some interesting information that could have come out of it from these guys. And it was just murder. That's all. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I guess
all.
they could have followed them to wherever they were going and done a raid or something to capture them. You'd think.
Sure. It makes no sense. And of course, they say, well, they were undoubtedly moving fentanyl. I guess that's the drug of the day, drug of the year, actually, fentanyl to the U.S. because fentanyl kills people in the U.S. And of course, a bigger question is wait a minute, uh, what business is it of yours? The reason that people take fentanyl, which is an opiate, is makes the world makes all the world a sunny day. It gets them out of their current problems and uh, it's a way to hide from reality, which is, of course, the case with all drugs and alcohol for that matter. So I don't see what business it is of the US governments, what their citizens want to do if they'd like to do that. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, by reducing the supply of fentanyl to the US, all it's going to do is increase the cost retail in the US, which has its own set of consequences. Uh, if you have to rob to get your fentanyl money, you're going to have to mug two people, not just one person, to get your hit. So
Hmm.
the whole thing is screwed up from top to bottom. But apparently, Bubis Americanus is all for it because this is showing that once again it's morning in America.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like those gangs or at all. I think they should definitely all be removed from the U.S. Especially
Oh,
all these
sure.
people that have come in, and
Oh,
they
for
should be
sure.
kicked out if they're illegals, and they should be behind bars if they're legal and they're doing that all that stuff. But it's the whole thing of it being not a police action, so it's not like enforcing laws because we had no body of law that would be even applicable there. It's a military action, apparently, based upon a potential violation of U.S. law at some point in the future. And that's a really dangerous precedent.
Yeah. Yeah. If the Russians had done something like that with a fast boat coming across from the Caspian Sea from wherever. It would have been a worldwide outrage, I'm sure. All these evil Russians just uh, killing people promiscuously that are out boating. So anyway,
Yeah,
it,
it's really
I think Trump might be getting out of control, quite frankly, truly out of control.
what is that? What is how will we know for sure when he is out of control?
Hmm. Well, it seems to be a gradual but accelerating process with them. And on the other hand, I can understand the way Trump feels. He sees that the US is really screwed up. There are so many things that are wrong. And he sees the way the country's sliding into the gutter at an accelerating rate, and he feels like he has to do something. But he's just flying by the seat of his pants, quite frankly, doing whatever seems like a good idea at the time to try to turn around the negative trend. And he's
Hmm.
making it worse in a lot of ways.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, what do you, I mean, but was there a sign though that we'll know I mean, what point where you think he's really crossed the line? This is what I heard. I heard you talk to George Gammon yesterday, I guess it was, and you said he asked you a question. And he said, "Is there a point that he crosses where you could say, hey, maybe I know this would make people upset. Maybe Kamala wouldn't have been this bad."
I know, that's that's so hard to believe because she's an out and out communist, totally manipulated by the powers of darkness. Oh, God. What do you want to choose? You want to choose Hitler or Stalin? Who do you prefer? Take your choice. I
It's
mean,
fascism or communism. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, or or do you prefer the New York mafia or the Chicago mafia? Take your choice.
right. That is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some questions from viewers, members of the file. So the first one is there are a lot of black swans flying around currently, and in the past, crashes have statistically happened more often in September, October, and when everything gets whacked. So I would love to sell all stocks right before this crash and time the bottom perfectly and get back in, but I feel like I'm basically trying to predict the next winning Powerball numbers. Each crash has its own specific scenarios, but for the next one, at what point do you see yourself saying crash is imminent and you sell stocks to avoid the loss? What indicators would you use to trigger yourself to make this move?
Didn't Lau publish an excellent chart showing that by all the parameters of what
Mhm.
constitutes expensive, PE, dividend ratio,
The CAPE ratio, all that. Yep.
all that stuff, that the stock market is now at one of its all-time highs. 1929, 1968 or 66. It was kind of a double top. 2000, 2000, and today. I mean, it's way, way up there. So is this a good time to be in the stock market, especially when there are all these red flags flying that everything could collapse? I don't think so. There's probably better places to be. So I think your gut feeling about not being in the stock market is excellent. But the question is, where do you go? And you know, he commented that September and October are dangerous times. I think that comes from Mark Twain, who said October is a very dangerous time for the stock market. And so is January, February, March, April.
Yeah, he
But
notoriously did poor with investments.
yeah, he did. He did. Well, actually, what I understand hurt Twain most was investing in crazy gold mining deals, believe it or not.
Well, he also tried to there's this great book I read on him. It's really, really good. You would actually really like it. It's called Chasing the Last Laugh, which is this about this around the world speaking tour he did
Hmm.
in like the basically close to the end of his life, basically trying to earn the last bunch of money to kind of not leave his family bankrupt. And it goes into all the bad investments that he was involved in and stuff. But primarily, it's a narrative about his journey and his own comments about what he witnessed as he's going around the world and doing this thing. I thought it was a very, very entertaining book. But yeah, there's some
Oh,
like weird, like he'd get roped in lots of weird private deals that he always got burned on virtually all of them.
yeah, it's strange because Twain, was a boots on the ground guy from when he was a little kid and well educated, highly intelligent. So investing is a skill. And anyway, what to do? Yeah, so if you get rid of all your stocks, which are overpriced, well, look, I don't know if you published it yet, that interview we had with Chris McIntosh.
No, I'm waiting on it. He was supposed to send me a link that I have not gotten yet.
Yeah, well, I've got money with Chris, and I manage my own money, but I'm happy to give money to other people that specialize in things that I don't do and do things that I don't do. And I would buy the kind of stocks. You can't be out of the stock market because it's the productive capacity of the world that you're investing in through stocks. That's how you do it. Well, there's private equity, of course. But the type of thing that Chris is doing is having small positions in under-owned, unknown stocks in obscure markets that are really, really cheap and are paying high dividend yields and selling for a fraction of book value. Uh, the worst thing that can happen is they go nowhere and keep paying their dividends, which is just fine. But then maybe uh, any one of them could turn into the next Microsoft. So I think that's a good alternative.
Yeah.
Other than that, just speculate. And the only place you can speculate, I think, is in resources: oil, natural gas, uranium, gold, silver, the commodities. They're the only thing in the world that's still cheap today. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Yeah. I think because if you're looking for indicators or triggers that would make you get out, I mean, you see them as you were talking about that everything's overpriced. So if you own any of those things, I think it's time to get out of those things. Like if you own the S&P in general, a fund or something, then basically it means you own Nvidia and the
Yeah,
Mag 7, right? So get out
that's
of
right.
that
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
But
Yeah,
what one point that Chris made that was really interesting is like he's like if people don't own it, they can't sell it. And most of if you own these under-owned stocks, then they won't be the victim of a big sell-off in the same way.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm on a Zoom group with about 35 guys that are they're mostly big deal fund managers. That's what most of them are. And they always ask me to say a few words about these crazy little mining stocks that I'm in. And they're all sympathetic to owning them, but they can't own them and don't own them because it just doesn't work from a practical point of view for them, even though they're very sympathetic, these guys. So I
They
kind of
can.
see the market. My favorite scene from the original movie Alien is when Sigourney Weaver sets off the bomb in the
Mm.
Nostromo, and she's running for the escape pod. It was wonderful. There's amber lights flashing, the klaxon horn, and a calm female voice saying 5 minutes to self-destruct.
That is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is so it's related. Many commentators are advising to leave the dollar-based system, which appears ready to collapse. I understand that this means pulling cash deposits out of banks, selling U.S. treasuries and other dollar-denominated debt instruments, and redeploying the cash to real assets like gold. But what about dollar-denominated investments in gold mining stocks and other commodity-based stocks held in a brokerage account? I would think that those types of investments would do fine in a money or trade restructuring situation as proposed by Stephen Moran. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Listen, that's where I am. And it doesn't really matter what currency they're denominated in, because if it's a weak currency, they're just going to earn a lot more in that weak currency. And look, producing gold mines right now have all-in sustaining costs, everything, soup to nuts, legal, tidying up the mine after they mine it out 20 years, all this stuff. Uh, Someplace in between 14, $1,500, something in that order. So right now, producing gold mines are coining money. And even though gold is, I think, reasonably priced, there's a good argument that can be made for doing a 10 for from here. It can happen. So that's the best place to be. And it doesn't matter what currency those stocks are in, quite frankly.
Hmm.
I don't think it makes a difference. Was that answering the question, though?
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. Okay, where would you suggest is a good Plan B destination for an Australian family? You know, it's because Uruguay is a little too far away from home for them.
Depends on what you do for a living. I mean, are you retired or are you actively working?
This would be somebody that I know this guy has is probably my age or a little bit younger, so he's actively working, but must have some flexibility.
Yeah, because look, if you're an Australian, I may stand to be corrected, but you could go to Norfolk Island, which is like a big island north of Australia that's not part of Australia and has some advantages over it. That might be a way of threading the needle as an Australian. And given the choice, seeing how bad Australia is, I'd say going across the Tasman Sea to New Zealand would be a good move. I've always thought New Zealand was much mellower than Australia. In fact, and if I was going to go to New Zealand, and of course I lived there for years and I loved it, I'd go to the South Island this time. I was on the North Island. So you do that, but where else do you go? I don't know. The whole world is basically heading in the wrong direction, the way I see it.
Well, one of the guys on our VIP call lives in Malaysia, and he loves it there. He's Canadian, but
Yep.
he's like it's booming there, like and everything's cheap and
You're right. If I was going to pick a city in Asia, I think Kuala Lumpur would be it. And it's true. It's a Muslim country, but and in Malaysia, those northern provinces in Malaysia, I mean, they're really deep-dyed Muslim, which and they're not friendly, I don't think. But Kuala Lumpur is great. I think that's a good choice.
yeah, I think that I'd definitely look into that, especially just like from cost of living standpoint too. It's very cheap. They make
Yeah,
it their residency programs are pretty straightforward and easy to follow, and
yeah,
so yeah, I'd look there.
yeah. It's a good choice.
Let's see. How does Doug consider the time, measured in years, required for an investment to yield a return when making speculative decisions?
Well, the ideal investment, as Buffett has pointed out very correctly, is forever. You got a properly run company in the right business in the right place, and it just keeps getting bigger and making money, doing good things. So that's the ideal thing. You don't want to have to sell it. You don't want to have to sell things because you have to pay taxes to some stupid government for it. So that's the first answer. But when we're talking about these resource stocks, which are not almost never hold forever type things, because resources are very cyclical. They're not like growth businesses per se.
I mean, it's kind of where the opportunity is because they go from being really underpriced to being really overpriced, right? I mean, that's,
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter how much you love gold or loved oil or loved anything. If you held on after either one of those things reached their peaks, you're way underwater. Even though the commodities have gone way up from like 2011, uh, the stocks you're way underwater still. So answer to the question, I don't know. Right now, I'm looking at 3 or 4 years, and maybe you'll be able to reorient at that point towards, maybe. buy Berkshire Hathaway after it comes down a lot.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Then there was this long message from or that had a lot of setup, basically from one of our VIP members who actually talks about he recently visited Morocco and kind of what he saw there, and basically he was pleasantly surprised. He's coming from Spain. Um, Lots of investment there, and anyway, he was really surprised. Very clean and safe, and anyway, so he's he said while he was there, he inquired about the cost of a real estate investment. He said, for example, a beachfront property in a premium area of Tangier, an apartment of about 60 square meters with 3 bedrooms, was around $300,000 to be delivered in 2027. And his question is, what do you think of such an investment? A country that wants to become the next Dubai, a country that the European Union is protecting at the expense of other EU nations, such as Spain, because they have this favorable trade deal that somehow supports them, and a country that is attracting a lot of money. What do you think about an investment like that?
Well, what did that apartment cost and how large was it?
He said it was it's $300,000 beachfront in a premium area of Tangier, and he said it was
How
60
large?
square. He said it was 60 square meters, but that can't be right.
That's 600 square feet. That's
Yeah,
TBD.
3 bedrooms, so it can't be that.
No, it can't be. There's got to be a mistake there someplace.
Yeah,
Uh, well, I don't know. Was I spent 10 days in Morocco uh, many years ago and spent time in Marrakesh and Rabat and Casablanca and I don't know some other place. So saw a good part of the city and rented a car and drove way out into the desert and uh, I had a wonderful time in Morocco and I like it. I mean, when it comes to Muslim countries, I mean, I like it. It's it's like Turkey, which I also like. Uh, they're relatively mellow kind of Muslim countries. But would I do anything in Morocco? I don't know. I mean,
what about as a plan B if you live in Spain, even? You know?
I lived in Spain. What would I use as a plan B?
Well, I mean,
Well,
would that be suitable for it, do you think?
well, it's just across the Pillars of Hercules. I mean, it's you can see Morocco from Spain. So
But a totally different system, of course.
totally different. Yeah, it is. And it's a lot cheaper in Morocco than Spain. And I lived in Spain for years in Marbella. Uh, but I I don't know. I'm not up to date what Morocco's like now. Undoubtedly, it's industrializing.
Yeah,
Like
that's what he was saying. Yeah, he was saying he was really impressed by it. He was really surprised. He said it's changing, it's becoming industrialized, and there's lots of investment going into the country. In the coming years, the Africa Cup of Nations will be held there, and the 2030, the FIFA World Cup. So they're preparing the country for those upcoming events.
yeah. Well, the problem with traveling a lot, and like I said, I was in Morocco 30 years ago, and whatever it was, it's got to be really different than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, so how can I make a relevant comment based on
Yeah,
when most people in the world weren't even born 30 years ago, as a matter of fact?
it's a good point. Good point. When buying silver for offshore storage, yeah, is it better to buy coins or bars? For local storage, I have coins, but does it matter when storing offshore?
I think it's more convenient and a lot cheaper to get bars. I mean, frankly, but for
Yeah.
your own possession, you want coins. Those one
Okay.
ounce coins are junk silver.
Yeah, and especially because storage for silver has got to be expensive. You'd imagine, right? Just
Yeah, so Yeah, bars would be the way to go because it's a speculative vehicle. And I'm sure you're holding those bars because you're looking for silver to go to $200 an ounce, which you probably will. At which point you ought to consider offloading it for something that's cheap. I
Yeah.
don't know what that'll be at the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so the last question I had for you today, Doug, is if Trump doesn't insist on him opposing and removing the World Economic Forum stooges who are killing the citizens of New Zealand and Australia and Canada and UK, in what amount more and more to open air concentration camps, is he then complicit or cowardly or clueless in regards to these ongoing tyrannical, genocidal, national usurpations?
Well, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question. What do you think?
I think what he's asking is like the Trump should intervene in what's happening in the governments of these other countries because they're World Economic Forum stooges and it's going really bad there. And if he doesn't, is he complicit, cowardly, or clueless?
Well, they all are WEF stooges, and the WEF just gathers the worst kind of possible people to its meetings that come up with the most insane kind of ideas. So, but you know what? It's none of our business. And how are you going to change the government of all these countries as the US? It's none of your business. I mean, listen, if I could, I'd change just about every government in the world right now. They're all corrupt and destructive, but it's not our business. Our business is to look out for number one and not dissipate our wealth and take a chance on getting into a war because we don't like somebody else's stupid government. So I don't know. That's all you can say about it.
Yeah, it's really it
Uh,
is none of our business. I guess it's just because Trump is so outspoken about other things, and willing to attack people, but he doesn't attack any of those governments. Well, I guess he really does with Canada. We'll talk badly about them from time to time,
well, Canada's
but
certainly got a horrible government with this guy Carney, who's really just about as bad as Trudeau, and Starmer in England is a criminal personality, and Australia is turning into a police state too. I guess out of the four, New Zealand's probably the
the best one, yeah.
best one, yeah. But I don't know what you do. What do you do about that? You can't do anything about it. Quite frankly, your vote doesn't count. That's not going to change anything. I mean, let's be realistic. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, maybe there's some lessons from the maybe eventually we'll use Hellfire missiles. Maybe that's the answer because we just solve problems with Hellfire missile and fast boats.
I don't know what a Hellfire missile costs. Probably $500,000, probably more. I mean, with
Wow.
with all the padding that goes on in the so-called defense industry. Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, it really is shocking that just because there's a boat moving fast, moving from Venezuela. I mean, who was on that boat and what was on that boat and exactly what they were doing? Well, you know, just it's just blow them up. And
Yeah,
this is actually it's a crime. And whoever
it's a
was
crime.
responsible for pushing the button should be tried and prosecuted for
Well,
murder.
I mean, the way but Trump came out and was, doing he basically did a public presser or whatever, like before it was reported, and like announcing that it happened. It was a point of like he was proud of it as taking decisive action of some kind. So
Yeah, well, it's decisive, and
it is action.
I mean, is the U.S. like, has it gone insane? They can just go around blowing up boats in international waters because I don't know, because of what?
Yeah,
We
and I
don't
mean,
know.
let's say it was like just 5 miles of international waters coming into the U.S., then I think it'd be easier to explain at least. Still, I'm not saying it'd be right, but um, not anywhere near the U.S. That's the thing people have to understand.
Well, the proper way to handle this is to get a Coast Guard cutter to cut it off and pull it over and see what's going on. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, listen, maybe it's just some rich Venezuelan teenagers that were out for a joyride. Unlikely, but I mean, you don't know. You can't go killing people at random. I mean, listen, I've long been of the opinion there are some people that just need killing, quite frankly. But no, I don't give the U.S. government my proxy to go out and killing people at random.
yeah, yeah. And that's the first one because it seems like it's part of the overall taking it to the cartels essentially that Trump that order he gave the Defense Department, which I think they are changing to the War Department, aren't they?
They
They
are. That's
changed.
right. That's right. Trump is calling it the War Department, and there's an argument that could be. Listen, I believe in calling a spade a spade. So it should never have been changed from the War Department to the Defense Department. I mean, this is just a bullshit misdirection. It's never
Well,
been.
and it makes a lot more sense if it's calling it the War Department. The War Department brought war to those people on that fast boat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I think it was a mistake on the part of Truman to have unified the services. It used to be the Department of the Navy and the War Department, different
Hmm,
things.
hmm.
But who knows how things are going to. Listen, the U.S. government is bankrupt at this point. We're living in a fool's paradise. We're exactly like Wile E. Coyote when he runs off the cliff and keeps running for there. I'll bet that a year from now, everything in the world is going to be pretty different than it is right now.
Hmm. Is there one obvious way that it'll be different, do you think, that will be noticeable to everybody?
I gotta believe that the markets are going to get unpleasant for people. And when people think that they've lost a lot of money that they thought they had and can see that, gee, maybe that money I was hoping on retiring on or getting in my pension may not be there. Or maybe if the wrong things happen in the real estate market and people start losing their houses, all kinds of things can happen financially and economically. I mean, what's Trump going to do then? And what are the people that hate Trump going to do? I mean, this is like a kid's kaleidoscope. It's very hard to predict what the next thing is going to be, except that it's going to be chaotic and unpleasant. Unpleasant. I mean, that's a really safe bet. And what do you do? Well, you save yourself and your family first. And here we got to put a plug in for the preparation. If you got a, I don't have a copy right here in front of me to hold up to people. Ah,
So reviewer's copy, so it's got the line there, but
yeah.
yeah,
So
go ahead,
people
Doug.
people ought to buy that book and read that book. I mean, that's the best advice you could possibly have instead of, I don't want to second guess what's going on with the markets. And look, there's a French phrase, sauve qui peut. Uh, he who can should save himself. And that book is, I think, the answer for families, for individuals, especially for young men, but for everybody. So go on Amazon and buy the damn thing. You'll be happy you did. Honestly, we can't change the world situation.
No, but we can take full responsibility for our own personal situation, and that's kind of what the book is about.
That's exactly right. So,
Yeah, yeah. And this is our, we sit here, we on the podcast, we basically talk about the folly and the crazy things that are happening in the world, but it's our attempt in one way to try and actually deliver a solution, to the problems, something that would really work.
yeah, personally, I get tired of people saying, "Oh, you're just gloom and doom. All you're doing is saying what's wrong in the world." Yeah, that's all true. But here's the answer. Here's what you do personally about it. It'll make a difference.
Yep. Just gotta, you just gotta read it. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Doug. I think we'll leave it there for now and be back next week with more. So have a good weekend.
Thanks, Matt. You too.